All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ideal Me. I am Lamar Whitby, and today, my guest is Durham native, um, HBCU, NCCU alum, um, agent, just all around Mike J, all day, good guy, uh, Mike Johnson. So, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. So just real quick, just a little bit about yourself. What just start out, what made you attend the HBCU? I know you went to Hillside high school, right?
Right.
But what made you, go down the street to North Carolina Central?
Uh, I mean, Hillside is almost, it's like we used to call that like a HBCU, because it is, it's a pretty sizable student body population. When I was there anyway, I'm not sure what exactly the numbers are now, but
Right.
I think that was just part of the culture there. I actually, I went to the University of Tulsa first on a
Right.
football scholarship, and then, ended up transferring back. But, I just grew up around the HBCU atmosphere, going to the Aggie Eagle Classic. My grandmother being a professor at North Carolina Central, as well as a few of my aunts as well. So, I kind of just grew up as a kid, just being around the campus, being on the campus, being at football games, parades, homecomings. So for me, everyone in my family went to a HBCU. That was kind of the norm for our family.
Right.
Going to college, we didn't really look into too many PWIs until athletics started to come into play for me. Obviously, I started getting some attention from some PWIs, and things changed from that perspective. But from a comfortability standpoint, I think HBCUs provide a great foundation for that, and also obviously being hands-on and just being around your people. And it's nothing. The people is what make it at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So that's what really went into my decision.
Nice, nice, nice. So just fast forward a little bit. You spent some time on the field as an athlete, right? So how did you transition into becoming an agent?
Well, for me, I think it was just something that I always wanted to do. Um, I had a couple things. It was either broadcast journalism or it was going into player representation. And for me, when you have these ideas about what it is you think you may want to do, such as broadcast journalism, I didn't necessarily think about the writing portion of it. And writing isn't something that I wouldn't even say it's not a strong suit of mine. It's just not anything that I'm interested in. It's not a passion of mine. I
Right.
always try to look for passions, and like for me, everything is about fit. And so once I went into the broadcast journalism, I guess lane, saw that the writing portion of it just wasn't for me. So then I switched over into sports management side of things. Um, and I tell people all the time, playing video games growing up, I was that kid who stayed in the creative menu and more so in franchise mode, looking at the rosters, looking at free agency,
Yeah.
kind of just all the intricate workings, behind the scenes in the business transactions, and seeing why salaries fit here, why they don't fit there, what does it mean when they don't fit,
Right.
um, and different things like that. So I was kind of a nerd in that sense.
Okay. Okay.
I never really knew about me. Um, and then, you know, once a few of my friends really started having real aspirations to play in NFL, and started getting that type of attention. We had agencies started to come in, get involved, and they knew that it was a track that I was going to, eventually get on. And
Right.
so they started including me in some of those discussions, and we got to actually see what that world looked like, the characters that were associated, and how those business deals transpire. And so that only just kind of just lit even more of a fire up under me. And from there, man, uh, I started preparing my way to make a transition from school, from the education side, into I had a couple internship opportunities with some major players in the sports agency
Right.
world, and I chose one and just kind of took it from there.
Man, yes, smart dude. Smart dude.
And, you know, I don't know if like the answer was drawn out or if it was
Perfect.
precise, but at the same time, you know, it's one of those things, man, that I don't even know if I really knew what I was doing at the time. Maybe I knew I was setting myself up, or maybe I was just chasing a passion. You know,
Mm.
I don't really know, but you know, long story short, that's how that went. I appreciate it.
It's special to see a face like yours in the, not your actual face, but to see a face like yours in that arena though, right? Because you have, I mean, like I guess the biggest name out there now would be a Rich Paul, right?
Yeah, I think
But
he's probably carrying the baton right now.
yeah, yeah. But who else do you name that looks like you? Like, are
Oh,
there,
well, for me, I know a few guys that are doing well. You
to
know,
the common, like
well,
everyday person?
I mean, it's tough, man, because in every industry, you don't necessarily know the faces that are successful in every industry, and so you know, you start to think of like something as simple as cardboard boxes, right? You know, it could be some colored people or some people of African descent, or you know, anywhere else that has carved out a real lane for themselves in making the cardboard box or cardboard products in general.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't know, you know, and so it's kind of the same thing with the sports agency world. There's some guys out there that are doing really well, man. It's a lot of guys, and now also some women also now have carved out a lane for themselves. So for me, I'm in the industry, so I see these faces and I see these names, you know, quite more often than people who are on looking on the outside looking in, I would say.
Right. Right. It's cool that the faces um are becoming more prominent though, because you see, people like us who've taken the athletic route, like these young boys, these young women, they're able to see these faces and say, oh, I can do something, beyond just playing the sport. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's a major thing. So thank you for taking that route, and being a trailblazer in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, no, you know, I appreciate it, man. I think it just comes down to just initiative and setting a goal, just like anything else.
Right.
Um, and I think you got to be a little stubborn as well if you're really going to be on this track. Um, because it's not like, you know, it's not common. It's not the common job. Depending on who you ask, it depends on what kind of feedback that you get, or I would say more, not even more so just feedback, but encouragement that you'll get for, you know, taking that route. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's with any type of entrepreneurship, though.
Right.
So, you know, these opportunities are out there, man. It's just really more so of how you go about strategizing to chase it.
Mm. So where'd that come from for you? Like that stubbornness, that
It's,
that edge.
uh, it, well, you know, obviously the edge probably just comes from being a competitive athlete, you know, at a high level, and just a competitor in general in life, right? Um, but I try to have some type of ambition. Um, I'm not sure. I think we broke up for a little bit, but
Yeah,
sorry
for a
about that.
second.
But yeah, I think also we got to have some type of ambition, though, right?
Right.
That you know, it has to come from somewhere. And so for me, I think it's just probably just a deep burning desire. You know,
So having that said though, like it's not all peaches and cream. So
uh,
what's your biggest setback as a agent? Like what's that one hurdle where you're like, man, I don't know where this came from, how it happened, but this is hard.
oh, it's been a lot of them. I can't even really pinpoint one. Um, and then in this, you know, and it's one of those things too where a lot of the situations are confidential, so I can't necessarily
Right.
speak on them exactly or in depth. But I would just say, you got to just be prepared for hurdles and know they're going to come, pitfalls. The biggest thing is how do you just respond to them, and everything is strategy,
Mm.
uh, and everything is perspective as well. So it's really just knowing how to respond to things and knowing how to pick yourself back up, and and just having that the initiative to keep going and to take more steps, and no matter how many times you get hit, just because it's not one of those games where it's going to be it's not too many times where it's just going to be just straight to the money, straight to success.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I just look at everything as a learning situation, man. And every loss that I've ever taken has taught me a lot, and I value those losses greatly. And so
Does that come from like learned experiences as a child, or like what does that stem from? Like where does that like that fire in you to just not quit, or
that's
who?
that's this probably the stubbornness,
Mm.
you know. So for me, it's you know, I think you've seen those memes before where you have like a little animation character in the coal mine, one's on the top, one's on the bottom, and they got
Yeah.
the axe and this, and they're like they're swinging away and
Right.
chomping away, and
Right.
you see the one of them, they turn around and it's like they only had a thin layer left before they got to the diamond,
Yeah. Like one or two more.
and the other one actually breaks through because he never quit and he never
Right.
gave up.
Yeah.
So that's me. I think it's just I'm always, like I said, it's perspective. So I'm always believing that it's only a couple more swings left before, my next goal and before I find my next gym or before I encounter another great situation.
Cool. 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 We've we've come into to a place in athletics where our athletes are taking more of a stand with their not just their physical, right? Because working out and staying in shape. Shoot, LeBron is one of those who we know how much he spent on his body every year, right, in the day-to-day basis. But when you have individuals stepping out now on their talking about their emotional, mental health, that sort of thing. You have Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles, Kevin Love, Paul George. It's a number of people. Um, how do you think mental health has impacted the world of sports?
Well, it's always impacted it in some way, in some form or fashion, I think. Always, but I think now it's probably just a little bit more prominent to speak on it, or a little bit more of the norm to come out and speak on it and be honest about it. And I think you just see a lot more athletes these days allowing themselves to become more vulnerable to the general public and to the audience. Just, I think, as a reminder, more so as of late, that we are human beings, right? That's shared across, um, whichever way they decide to deliver that message. But that's the message that they're ultimately getting across. To
Right.
say, yes, we're exceptional from a physical standpoint and what we can do with our bodies, or what we can do with, a skill set that we have developed over time. But um, yeah, we still go through things. We still struggle with mental issues, or whatever it is that, from a mental standpoint, I don't want to diagnose anybody, right? But they still struggle mentally from a mental standpoint.
Right.
That is probably, they can deem themselves not able to perform on a particular given day, weekend, week, or specific block of time that they do so.
Right.
So like we've recently seen Simone Biles. I think it came out today that she is going to participate in the
Yeah.
big, right? But she forewent all those other events because she just wasn't comfortable going out there perform.
Right.
And I can understand that. I've never gotten to that place, but I have experienced some times where it's gotten real hard, especially when you have to go out and perform. And look, if people feel like uh, it's best for them as a person first and foremost to not perform, and that's probably what's also best for the team because they're not in the best mental space. Then
Right.
look, you gotta take care of home first before you worry about anything else. So yeah, I think that's where this more so coming out to now, and it's good to see because I think far too long, people have looked at athletes as just strictly entertainment
Mm-hmm.
rather than real human beings.
Right.
So, like I said, it's a beautiful thing to see certain people coming out now and making and shedding light on it and making allowing themselves to become vulnerable as well by sharing their story.
Right. Do you think there's space in sports for therapy?
Oh yeah, I mean we have sports therapists now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean I think that's all that space has always existed.
Okay. So as an agent, a person that not to speak for you, but it's a lot of your responsibility. Like you take care of, you make sure your clients are good, right? Like we need to make sure you're able to perform in every way possible, right? So having that said, how do you ensure the mental health of your clients, of your athletes?
Well, I think anytime you enter into like any type of relationship, whether it's with love or business or any other type of relationship, you want to get to know the person on the other side, right? As people first.
Right.
And so, I spend a great deal of time, talking with my clients and getting to understand my clients, their way of thinking, just obviously you start to notice like different mannerisms or different tones, how they pick up the phone and how they talk, what kind of mood this person is usually in on a day-to-day basis. And you get to know them, right? So anytime, something may seem a little off with their voice or, their words or how they're answering questions or just the tone, then you just want to make sure and be able to have a comfortable enough relationship that you can have those type of conversations. And so for me, I just listen for different things, and not to say that I come on the phone listening for things, but if I notice these things, then obviously I can have those conversations with my clients because we've built up that type of relationship. And um, that's you just want to make sure that they're good, but it's not for me to be able to diagnose anything. It's just to make sure that they're okay. And if I need to be a resource of such to connect them to the proper channels,
Right.
then we have those channels available and we can be able to do so.
Good. Would you say, not to put you on the spot, but would you say that those resources are available for like you specifically? Because you have a lot of pressure. Um, yeah, not that you can't deal with it. I mean, you are a quarterback, you built for pressure, but
Right, you talking about for me personally?
for you specific, yes,
Oh
specific.
yeah. Yeah, no, I do. I don't necessarily look at it as pressure, but
Of
yeah,
course you would.
I mean, I have a lot of responsibility, I would say, which I embrace, and but yeah, I think it's just all part of the job, man. When I first got into this thing, it was a little different, but again, I've experienced a lot of different situations, a lot of personalities, some big personalities. I've been in the room with some really powerful people, And so I think just my mannerisms, and the way I deal with things, anxiety, whatever I maybe may have felt the first couple times I was doing it,
Mm-hmm.
is a little different now. It's almost like from one season to the next as being an athlete, or the more as you experience different situations, the more tolerable they become, and the
Right.
more relaxed you become. And like I said too, I learn from every experience, good or bad. And so, at this point, if I need to reach out to, certain lifelines, like such as a therapist, then yes, I have those things available for me. I also have a great support system as well that I'm comfortable, um, making myself vulnerable with.
Good.
So that helps me out a lot.
Okay. You are a determined guy, determined, resilient, and you complacency is not a thing for you.
Right.
So moving forward, what does the ideal version of you, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever, like what does the ideal you look like?
That's a great question, man. And that's a great question just because, it makes you, well, it makes me think about what I am right now, right? Um, and so to answer your question though, more so than anything, I want to be a guy that cares, that becomes, uh, more self-aware, um, obviously humble, staying humble, um, and just somebody that, people just look up to, for whether it's for inspiration, um, or just for doing something great, and being the guy that overcame despite of, right? And it's hard for me to say, it's hard for me to elaborate on it too much. Like, it's hard for me to even give, um, a lot of my own, attributes of what I want those things to look like. I just know I just want to be better than yesterday every day in every form.
So how do you make that happen?
Well, for me, it's, just keeping myself on schedule, um, and creating a lifestyle for myself that I can continue and can stay consistent. Consistency is key for me. It's all about the little things: consistency, details, strategy, um, and just healthy habits, right? So getting up, working out, um, walking my dog, getting myself prepared for meetings, um, executing, responsibilities, uh, seeing things through, being aggressive when the time calls for it, um, and being genuine. And so, just making time for family as well, and just trying to be the best son and husband that I can be. That's really my biggest thing. I want to be the best son and husband and, that I could possibly be. And then I think, everything else pretty much, for me, everything else falls into place, right? I feel like if I can take care of myself at home, first and foremost, then, those things, they trickle over into my business portion of, who I am and the businessman that I am.
That's special that you would say being a son, being a husband, like all that foregoes that comes before your business, right? Like you said before, like take care of home. That's special because the world that we live in today is, you know, it's the business first, right? Y'all, I'll catch up with y'all later. But Yeah, so much respect for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's in today's world, man, the biggest thing that for me is knowing how and when and for how long to separate from like the fictitious things that are out there. And a lot of it is knowing how to use social media, knowing what to use social media for.
Right.
Um, like for me, I love Twitter because in the industry that I'm in, I can follow specific accounts, and anytime I get on, I can see all of those updates right there. I use Twitter as like my newspaper. It's like my news.
Right.
It's that informal for me. Obviously, it's gonna be like a lot of jokes in there too. You like the culture, and Black Twitter and all of that in there too.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's how you stay hip, but yeah, no, I use it for informational purposes, right? And so yeah, I think for me, I got to take care of home first, and then that's what helps me become a better businessman because I'm representing people are trusting me with their life, right? And if I'm a great husband and I'm a great father and I'm a great son, um, as long as I'm putting in the work and the time into my business and into the information and absorbing new information,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be a pretty damn good agent too, because
Exactly.
I'll care, more about my clients. I have a more of a connection to them, and I'll be able to just represent them the right way. So home for me it starts there.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So tell before we close out, tell the people a little bit about All Day Group and where they can find you.
So ADG is you can find us at alldaygroup.com. You can also find us on Instagram at alldaygroup. We're kind of going into a little bit of a rebranding right now. We're going into a little bit of an expansion, shall I say. So we got some things that we'll be updating pretty soon, but we're a sports agency. We're also a media company as well. And we have some other things in the works that I can't really speak too much on right now, but you can follow us on our accounts and check us out. And, just check in on us, and you'll be able to see like a lot of the things that we'll be rolling out pretty soon. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, Mike J, we appreciate you, and
Appreciate you, man.
that's a
Good seeing
wrap.
you too.
Good seeing you too, brother. That's a wrap. Ideal me. See you next time.